Hey, Jessica, how are you?
Hey, Darren, how are you? Great to talk to you again.
Doing well, thank you. Yes, I agree.
So I don't have you for very long, so I want to pick your brain apart about this movie, Death of Me. Just
Yes.
creepy and disturbing on a lot of levels. Well done. Um, can
Thank
you,
you.
first of all, the theme of sacrifice and how far people will go to survive is such a major part of this. It made me think of The Wicker Man, which is one of the most disturbing horror
Yes.
films ever. Can you talk about if you took inspiration from that and where you took where you took the inspiration from for this film? Because, man, it was very unnerving.
Well, thank you very much. So, first off, hold on one second here. Okay, I'm going to. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, Wicker Man is probably one of my top 3 favorite horror films, or not even horror films, just films of all time. I put that up there with my love of Rosemary's Baby and some of the others. So, yes, absolutely, Wicker Man played a huge thing for me into kind of my love and admiration for the kind of folklore horror genre. So I love movies that deal with faith. And, I love movies that deal with, hold on one second. There's a weird buzzing. I'm trying to fix this. Give me 2 seconds.
No worries.
Almost ready. Almost. Oh, there we go. So I love that kind of folklore horror that basically deals in beliefs and people's beliefs. And I think that as a person, I struggle with my own beliefs. And so I love being able to go and explore and tackle different people's beliefs and what they'll do for what they believe in. I think it's a fascinating thing. So, Wicker Man obviously does it, this island that is inhabited in this guy coming to try to solve a crime. But I wanted to do it in maybe a more accessible way, which people who vacation. I mean, I go on vacations. I go with my wife all over the world. And what would happen if you stumbled into one of these places that have this very, fanatical belief in something? And I think it's just a really cool thing to explore because we all do things based on what we believe in. And who are we to say which one is right or not? It's based in faith. You don't know if it's real or not.
Well, and you kind of, there is this line, drawing the line between your faith and your religion and, the how to describe it, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one, to quote some Star Trek in there, because they're, the whole, are you willing to give your life for the life of all of these people here? And in this case, there's so many levels of bad, but at the same time, you've got like a child who, she sees this little girl and it's like, okay, well, whose life is worth more? And there's so many levels to it. So it's really, what you said, it's very complex.
Thank you very much. I mean, you're one of the first people to bring this up, and that's exactly what we were trying to go for. Is first thing is I love about this movie is that the island and the people that inhabit the island are not villains. They're not bad people. They are doing what they are doing to save the many, to save the elders, to save the children, to save their way of life. And they have a belief that if they do this ritualistic thing, it will do that. And it was a thing that the producers and I talked about when we were developing the script, which was if one person could die and it could save 1,000, wouldn't that be worth it? And what would you do if you were in that position that you knew that your single life could save 1,000 lives? It's just something that I always found really fascinating.
Oh yeah. And the other part of it too is there's within this, the other side of the horror, besides the whole what is the best choice here? What is my choice? Oh my God, if I have this within me to sacrifice myself, is also just the sense of loss and disorientation in a strange place that you touched on in this. you conveyed that really well with like the editing and the story. And Maggie Q just is amazing in these scenes where you're like, okay, oh my God, if you didn't speak the language, if you didn't know what was going on, what do you do when you're by yourself like this? It's like the traveler's worst nightmare.
Yeah, I found myself recently a few times in places where I was without technology and I was forced to kind of fend for myself. And most recently it was in Japan, and I had a moment where I was in Japan and I was in a taxi and my phone died. And how I was communicating before is I would show them pictures. Like I would show them my email, and the email would say where I was going, and they would look at it and they would nod and they would go. But there was one moment that I had just moved hotels. I did not know where I was, and my phone died. And so the cab, the driver, he turned around to me and basically was motioning for me to show him the phone again. The phone was dead, and he had no idea where to take me. And eventually, after 20 minutes of driving around, he kind of just let me out. And I had to walk in Tokyo. And Tokyo is a very safe city. But it was so crazy to me that how naked I felt. Here I was in this very populated place, bustling with technology, yet I felt like a neophyte because I had no technology. I had no way to communicate with my wife or my children or the producers on this project. And in some respects, it was the first time I'd felt alive in a long time because I had to be present. I had to be in the moment. I had to try to deduce things and figure things out. So imagine if it was not Tokyo. Imagine if it was in a place that you weren't able to use technology or able to ask for help. That's a terrifying thought.
Oh yeah. No, I've had it happen to me, and it's like, okay, what do I do? Can I draw a picture? Do I even have a pencil? We've become so reliant on it.
Well, even in the United States, I mean, it doesn't have to be out of the country. Like, we are so reliant on our GPS. I just traveled across the country to see my parents. And, I was driving 12, 13 hours a day. And, imagine the GPS going off when I'm halfway, out between Los Angeles and Kansas,
Mm-hmm.
Getting lost in the backwoods somewhere with, and there was one moment on the drive that I was on empty and I didn't realize that I wasn't paying attention. And I looked over to my gas tank and it was empty. And just imagine my phone was dead and I had my son with me. Like, these type of things are real, that you don't realize that you can be lost even in today's world.
Well, I mean, people are so reliant on their GPS that they've literally driven into. I think I've read they died. They drove off a cliff because they weren't paying that. That's how much attention that they gave. They were just so reliant, and it's like, man, it's kind of nuts how much we've relied on that now. And if we find ourselves in that situation, we're kind of screwed. And it's interesting to me, I was reading about who co-wrote the film, and one of them is a gentleman named David Tish, who actually has a bunch of Travel Channel credits to his name.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah.
I'm like,
David, David Tish, the writer on this, he was really great. The original script was much different, and it dealt. It was a lot more. I don't want to say redundant because that's not the right word, but it dealt in things that I'd seen before, dealing a lot in voodoo culture, and I wanted to try to move it away from being voodoo and put it into something that people had not seen before, and so we started doing some research onto Southeast Asia and some of the smaller islands culture, and could we try to find an interesting way to do something that people wouldn't immediately say, oh, it's just like Serpent in the Rainbow or just like this. So we kind of moved it away from voodoo and put it into what we have now.
Yeah, and it's absolutely beautiful too, because Thailand is just a gorgeous area anyway, but you don't really see a lot of, I'm sure there's a lot of it, but there's not as much accessible of like Taiwanese horror, and this gave such a beautifully creepy, because it's colorful, but it's also horrifying, and you did such a good job capturing that.
Thank you. The DP, Jose, was fantastic in the look that he was able to pull out of it. And Thailand is a beautiful place, and I think that is also what can be so scary about it is beauty. Instead of it being set in some scary backwoods place, you're setting it in Thailand, which is beautiful. I mean, it's this Krabi, which is where you see most of the movie, where you are on the water. It's picture perfect and picturesque. But again, that also produces its own, I think, ability to tap into fear. Is you're set in paradise, but everything bad is happening to you. Hell is raining down on you in this very kind of beautiful thing. And that's why, again, like some of my favorite moments in the movie aren't the ripping out of organs or the stabbing one another. It's the scenes where she goes into the tattoo shop and the man hugs her and smiles at her and says, thank you. Or she's standing on the boat dock and watching as her luggage is taken away. Or, she's standing there and a man bows to her and gives her a gift for no reason. Those are the type of things that are inherently creepy to me because they're beautiful acts. They're very beautiful things, like giving someone a gift, bowing at them. But then you realize what they're doing it for is something much more nefarious.
Oh, yeah, no, it's inherently creepy. You did that. It just builds. It builds so well, and I really loved it for that. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I'm probably about to lose you here, but one thing I wanted to ask you about was the desolation scenes that you shot were and with what after the event happens are just harrowing. And did you actually use footage from real ones, or did you actually recreate? Because right now the world is just in so much chaos, and we're having disasters right and left, and it's horrible to see. Did you recreate any of that? Did you take anything from real events?
I'll tell you. Well, no. Most of those are real events that we have. I mean, some of it we did on set with wind machines and things like that. We did have wind machines and rain towers, definitely. But a lot, and believe it or not, some of it we shot in my backyard.
Wow.
With really tight shots of wind machines and rain. A lot of it was stock footage as well. And I think that, I don't think we set out with a hugely lofty political message, but someone brought it up to me, and I was like, you're right, it kind of is, which is, the world is falling apart, it seems. I live in Los Angeles, and there are fires that are surrounding, it seems like the entire western seaboard. Things are burning. There are hurricanes out of control that are wiping out entire communities. Something has to be done about it. We as a population need to make a sacrifice into our own comfort to try to correct some of the corrosion that's happening to our world. Call it, global warming and anything else. And it's going to require a sacrifice. Maybe not a Maggie Q human sacrifice, but it's going to require something out of us to try to change the path I feel that we're inevitably headed towards.
Oh yeah, no, and it's right there. I mean, it's such a good metaphor for right now, and I love it when horror films in particular are able to convey things like that, even if you don't realize you're doing it, but especially when you do, and you're able to do it in a way that makes people think all of a sudden in the back of their mind, oh yeah, I get it, and then they start thinking about it.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
That's fantastic. Well, Darren, I think I'm about to lose you. Thank you so much for this. This movie is fantastic and just beautifully done. So again, thank you for making it another great film.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it.